The Buffalo Bills have a tough matchup this week going up against the Philadelphia Eagles in Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. It's going to be a very tough game, 4:25 kickoff. But can the Bills find a way to defeat the Eagles, the 9-1 Eagles? I'm joined today by my host and co-chairman, Sean Kula, and we will get into this right after we hit our intro. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Red, White, and Ruthless. I am back after a week off from taking off and enjoying my wedding. It was a beautiful day last week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to host, but Sean kept the chains rolling. He got the first downs, got all the way into the end zone, scored a couple times, and it was a beautiful segment of the Red, White, and Ruthless. But I'm joined today with my co-chairman, Sean Kula of the Red, White, and Bills. He is the man that is always busy, also having a business of his own. And if you're in the Utica area, you need to contact my man, Sean Kula, with his company, and he does a phenomenal job cleaning as well. So, Sean, how's your week been going, man?
It's good. Always busy. Just had my 10-year high school reunion, so it makes you feel old. So I just got back from that, and it was nice to see some old friends, and everybody's doing good.
Yeah, that's right, man. I was busy tonight doing Christmas lights. I haven't done those this year, and we get all the Christmas lights out, did everything that we were supposed to do, and unfortunately, we didn't have a tree. And I forgot that I threw away the tree last year because we had a little guest that was in our house that we won't name names, but let's just say she ended up going on and she decided that she was going to take the strands of lights and she was going to break them apart because she likes to chew on things. So our little baby decided to chew on everything and made a big difference in the lights. So it was a difficult time, and it really stunk, but unfortunately we lost the tree and ended up buying a new one. It's going to be put up after the show, so can't wait for that. But let's get into things with the Buffalo Bills matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is going to be one of their tough matchups that they have coming up. They also have a bye week next week, then going to Kansas City, then you have Dallas coming up. This is a tough stretch of the schedule, but this is the hole that the Buffalo Bills dug themselves in, and they got to get out of that hole. So the name of the segment that we have today is, can the Bills defeat the Eagles? That's the big question that we have. So let's begin with some of the ways that the Buffalo Bills are going to have to find a way to expose some of the issues with the Philadelphia Eagles. And let's start right up front, Sean, where you love to talk about this group. They don't get enough credit as they deserve. They're ranked in the top 10 in the NFL right now. Actually, they're ranked number 1 in the NFL in terms of how they've been playing and their protection. And let's go with the offensive line that's going up against some big-time names out there in Fletcher Cox as well as Jordan Davis up front. So how can the Buffalo Bills keep Josh Allen's pocket clean and make sure that he's able to have enough time to survey the field and get the ball to the receivers that he wants to?
Well, I appreciate you mentioning how they're ranked number 1 on multiple metrics for pass blocking. Again, they never get enough credit. Any level of football, offensive line's always an afterthought of why things are working well. You'll see on post-game shows, Cook, before offensive lines even mentioned, Josh was great tonight. Cook looked great tonight. Why were they great? Because they had protection and because they had blocking. They're always the unsung hero, but it's no secret they're going to be up against Heck Sweat, and as well as, as the guys you mentioned, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox. And the best way, not that I don't have faith in our offensive line, because I think they can go up against anybody, but the best way to mitigate a fantastic pass rush is quick passes and dink and dunks. And everyone, Josh has, I said this for weeks now. He always says he hates and he gets bored with doing that. But guess what? You can't hold the ball for 5 or 6 seconds because, for one, if you do that, you're going to screw over your offensive line, tire them out, and then you're going to get put them in bad situations where they're going to end up getting called for holding. And you might get – so if the play isn't there in 3 seconds, maybe you could push it to 4, but there's going to be – you can't win every rep, and I say this every week. People like to judge the O-line off of, they got beat 2 or 3 times in the game. Yeah, well, 2 to 3 times out of 35, I'll take that any day of the week. So, they're going to lose reps. The Eagles' offensive line, who is looked at as the best offensive line, is going to lose reps. So, the best way to mitigate that is quick passes, as well as it's going to be key for Dawkins and Brown to win one-on-one battles because they might need more double teams in the middle. We faced Quentin Williams and Jefferson with the Jets, but Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis are I wouldn't say they're like Quentin Williams, but they're young, fast, and Osiris Torrance had a good game against Jalen Carter in college when they went head to head. So he's probably got a little bit of he knows a little bit more than what the other guys on our offensive line might know about a guy like Jalen Carter. But I'm completely confident that they can come out there and have a great game. And, Mitch Morris, McGovern, and Osiris Torrance are going to have to play even better than the tackles because it's going to be a lot of tough matchups in the middle. Not that the outside isn't tough, but if you want to focus on the interior, Dawkins and Brown are going to have to win one-on-ones, or we're going to have to send chippers over there to the side. But I'm completely confident. Again, people can't expect them to win all the time. You're not going to win every single rep, no matter how good you are. So if they give up a sack or they give up a couple pressures, and everyone forgets, since week 4, they've given up the least amount of sacks in the NFL. It's now week 12. And half of the sacks that Josh has been sacked 13 times, I think 6 or 7 have been on him. Credited to him and not the offensive line. So just got to give these guys some credit. They deserve it. And just know that they're going to have a tough matchup, but I think they're up for the challenge to beat them.
Definitely, yeah. I think one of the biggest things that we're going to have to factor in is the ability to see James Cook become a focal point in this offense. And that's one of the areas I want to focus on this week, is making sure that you get the ball running in the run game by going off tackle and going off of Deion Dawkins in this game. I think that that's one of the strengths of the Bills' run game, is when you have Deion pulling and being able to be the lead blocker for our run game. That's where we start to see the run game become good. And then in the passing game, I want to see short screens where you're getting the ball to James, because he is able to elude defenders as well as go upfield quite a bit. So I want to see the Bills find a way to utilize James Cook in this game plan. And then when it comes to the offensive line, yes, like you said, Sean, the quick passes are going to be important. You got to make sure that you're able to not only hit the quick passes, but if you don't see anything that's open, you got to take off, because this defense is going to be the toughest task that we're going to face this year. And I think they're even better than the Jets defense, in my opinion. So if it's not there in 2 to 3 seconds, Josh is going to have to use his legs and take off. And there's a lot of weapons on this defense for the Philadelphia Eagles. We mentioned Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. We talked about Fletcher Cox as well. But there's, in the back end, you have Nakobe Dean too, who's another wonderful linebacker, Zach Cunningham as well. So there's some big names that are on this team. And then you add into the fact that they have Kevin Byard as well in the back end. And this defense is legit. So we got to make sure that we're able to not only get the run game going, but we're going to have to utilize Josh's legs. And I don't know if you knew this, John, but In Josh Allen's career, when he rushes for over 10 times in a game, what's the Bills' record in that span?
17-1.
That is right. 17-1. So the
Saw
Bills,
that last week.
yeah, the Bills are going to have to run the ball quite a bit. But Bills fan CA said that he thinks Dean is on IR. I do think he is now that I remember that too. So thank you so much, Bills fan CA, for bringing that up as well. Let me get to the comments real quick because we have a couple more coming in from Bills fan CA saying congratulations, Brett. What pictures from the wedding were beautiful. And yes, the pictures from the wedding were awesome. I did post them to some of my friends, put them on the Discord chat as well. So if you're not on Discord, go into the description of the Red, White, and Ruthless show, and you can find the Discord channel, and you can check out all the photos from our wedding as well on Discord. Bills fan CA also said all 5 of the Bills' losses have been one-score games, and they've lost the turnover battle in 4 of the 5 games. And against the Jaguars, both the Jaguars and Bills had 2 turnovers. So that's another area we're going to talk about in the near future of what the Bills can do to fix some of the problems that they've had on offense. But let's get into another area that we need to talk about because this is one of the more important ones. What player on the Buffalo Bills will need to step up the most on offense? And Sean, I'm going to pose the question to you. What player do you think needs to step up the most on offense for the Bills?
Same guy every week. It's got to be Gabe Davis. I mean, what Brady said was just him being a good coach. That Davis was what made the offense work last week. That was just bullshit. He's just saying that to not have his player lose confidence because I've played the game. Coaches say stuff all the time, and sure, could Davis have been a good blocker? Yeah, but you got offensive line who blocks. You got other receivers who block. He wasn't the reason that we were doing what we were doing. He's your number 2 receiver, and he got 0 targets. It's like the 3rd game or 4th game where he got 0 or 1 targets or 0 catches. So he needs to have a day because I still think the secondary is we can attack it no matter who's out there. They've been struggling this year, but Diggs, we're gonna assume that Diggs is gonna be not locked up, but a lot of attention is going to be on him. We know Kincaid can do stuff. You need another guy who can do stuff. When A.J. Brown gets locked up, Devonta Smith steps up. They got 2 number 1 wide receivers on their team. If Devonta Smith gets locked up, then A.J. Brown's going to go off. One of them will always have a game. You just have to pick which one you'd rather have beat, almost try to beat you or beat you. You have to pick your poison there. But Gabe Davis needs to step up. We've seen, when you look at Gabe Davis's career in the long run, you can only go back to like 2 or 3 games that he's done a lot. You go back to the Kansas City game is the one that comes to mind, or the Pittsburgh game comes to mind.
Right.
And then maybe that game this year where he had 6 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
Those are like the 3 games you think about. Because even the playoff game, like the Colts game, I don't think he had like over 100 yards or a bunch of catches. He had a couple good catches, but it wasn't anything crazy. So in his 4-year span, you can only think of really 3 games that really jump out to you of him really stepping up. And then you really don't have much after that. So Gabe Davis needs to have a pretty good day, whether it's catching the ball or, at least taking attention away from Diggs. You got to do something besides block as a wide receiver too. So Gabe Davis for me.
Yeah, for me, I think it's going to come down to, and I did edit the banner there on the bottom of the screen. I do apologize about there's a little issue where we had the Miami game up there from last time, so it hasn't been edited. I did correct that, so I do apologize about that. So I thought it was already edited. I did it before the show, and unfortunately it didn't go in there a bit, but I do agree with you on Gabe Davis, but I'm going to bring up another guy that I think needs to have a good game this week, and that's Deontay Hardy. We haven't seen a lot out of him, but I think the biggest thing about Deontay Hardy is the ability to hit the deep ball. And he has the speed. He's very fast, but I want to see more of the Bills being able to hit the deep ball and be able to utilize him quite a bit this week, whether it becomes the deep ball or the end arounds, whatever the case may be. But we need that gadget player that can utilize his speed to be able to get downfield. And the Bills were able to get Andy Isabella up on the active roster. And I think that that's going to be a great move for the Buffalo Bills because they can utilize him in the slot position. But we're going to have to utilize those quick passes like we talked about and end rounds and stuff like that. We're going to have to be very, very different in terms of what we're going to normally run. We like to hit the deep ball quite a bit, but this is a game where we're going to have to utilize the short passes. We're also going to have to find a way to be creative in the offense, and it's going to have to come down to disguising plays and motions, stuff like that, where you have players that are out of position and you look to exploit the issue that the team has on defense. So I want to see more of the Bills being able to run motions, and I want to see more out of Deontay Hardy this week. That's going to be my player to watch this week because he's been a little quiet this year. He's only been doing a good job on special teams, but I think that this is a game where he could have a slippery good game and a sleeper game. So if you're looking for a fantasy sleeper this week and you have some wide receivers that are on the bye, go after Deontay Hardy because I think he's going to make a big difference this week.
Nice.
So let's get into our third category here, and we're going to keep the chain moving on the offensive side of the ball. And we talked about a little bit about the motions and everything, and I wanted to bring up Stephon Diggs because it seems like teams are starting to figure out that the Bills' offense relies on Stephon Diggs. We can be honest and say that everybody knows that going out there. So it's going to be a tough matchup for the Buffalo Bills because they're going to probably have two guys that are going to cover Stephon Diggs. But how can the Buffalo Bills find a way to get the ball to Diggs in those situations? And we talked about moving him around a little bit. That's one of the things we talked about, motions and everything. And I felt like last week with Joe Brady, the Bills were able to move guys around and motion players, and it seemed different from what we saw with the Ken Dorsey offense. So, Sean, let me ask you this. How do you think the Bills can move Stephon Diggs around and find holes in the defense for the Eagles?
I mean, I think Diggs is good anywhere, like you kind of said. Getting them in the slot might be nice. I don't know how I haven't watched any Philly tape. I don't know if the corners travel or not. But, I mean, he's played against Slay his whole career. And, you know, I think Bradbury's in the slop. He's having a down year. But regardless of where he lines up, I think he can win matchups. And I think just getting him the ball quick and letting him make a play instead of necessarily like trying to make him, you know, he's got a great route running ability, but let it get the ball in his hand quickly so he can make a play, kind of like how Shakir did, only his was a 35-yard catch and then an 81-yard touchdown. Josh made a great throw, and then Shakir made a play the rest of the way. Let Diggs get the ball, run a couple wide receiver screens, run a couple quick passes with him, slants, and then or quick outs, and let Diggs make a play. You know, he's hard to bring down. He scored a touchdown against Miami by people not being able to tackle properly, and then he had another couple big catches the rest of the year where people couldn't bring him down. So let Diggs get the ball quick, and maybe big things will come up and open down the field later on, which I'm sure they will. They have a bad passing defense, even with the big names on their defense. They're 1 in rushing defense and 30th in passing. It makes you wonder, are they really the number 1 rushing defense, or people just choose to pass on them because it's so easy? That we don't know. The Chiefs were able to run on them, so it gave me the hope of maybe we could do it a little bit, but I'd still rather lean on the passing game in a type of game like this. I mean, get Diggs the ball quick, and then when things open up later on, we'll see. But quick passes, it might be boring for Josh, but you got guys that can make plays, and everybody, for the most part, people are starting to change their mind now. But everybody wanted us to be a team that wasn't just focused on Allen and Diggs, and we wanted Josh to trust other players. But now there's a lot of people in the fan base are going to like, oh, let's let Josh and Diggs do everything now. And I still don't think we should be doing that, but Diggs should be getting the ball, get targeted a lot. But in the beginning of the game, get to him quick. 5-yard slant, 5-yard out, screen pass, and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. And I think another area, like John Roberts mentioning, is run cook, like we talked about earlier, and the screen passes as well. I think you can line Cook up in the slot, honestly, and move him around a little bit, and it'll create mismatches with having linebackers go up against him. So I want to see the Bills utilize not only James Cook, but if you're able to put Diggs in the slot next to him, I think that'll create some mismatches as well. Because right now it's about getting separation. That's one of the issues that the Bills have had this year, as far as other wide receivers that are not named Stephon Diggs getting that separation. And we haven't seen a lot of separation from Gabe Davis. And we haven't seen a lot of separation from the other receivers. So this is the time for the Buffalo Bills to be able to get separation with James Cook, with Stephon Diggs out there, and maybe a couple of other guys like Khalil Shakur or even Deontay Hardy can get free as well. But one of the things I thought about for how the Bills can get Diggs open more is by creating more of the play action passes that we haven't seen a lot of this season from the Bills, and maybe more plays under center where you have those play action passes, and then you'll have the defense bite on those, and then you'll get Diggs open. So I want to see a little bit more of that this week.
Sounds good.
But let's get into our next category here, and let's move the ball over to the Philadelphia Eagles side of the ball, and let's get talking about the defensive side for the Buffalo Bills. And there is a lot of things that we have to talk about on this defense that are going to be important. But first, before we get into the defensive side of the ball, I want to bring up some of the NFL news that's going on this week. We saw one of the biggest stars in the game on defense became released earlier this week. He was waived by the Colts in Shaq Leonard. And I want to bring him up because he is a terrific linebacker in this league. And one of the glaring issues that the Bills have had all year has been the linebacker position. I know a lot of people like Terrell Bernard. Some people don't like Tyrell Dodson or Dorian Williams being out there. But, Sean, I want to bring him up because I want to know your thoughts on whether the Bills should sign Shaq Leonard for a playoff run. Do you think that would be a good move for the Bills to make?
Maybe. I mean, it's always good to have people in the event someone could get hurt. Bernard's been fantastic. And, Leonard himself even said, like, he told the coaches if he wasn't playing better than the guy who's playing over him, then he's okay with being benched. That's what I got out of it. But they just up and released him. So I think he's got some football left in him. But, I think, PFF loves Dotson, but I think the eye test, Dotson's been pretty good too. Not great. He's not Milano or Bernard, obviously, but he's been enough. But it wouldn't be a bad thing to bring a guy like him in. Now you can sign him for the vet minimum because no one took him off waivers. But we'll see. I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, and John Roberts bringing up a good point. He's had back-to-back injury seasons the last 2 years. So that's one area of concern with him. But I think he would be a great depth piece for the Buffalo Bills, especially with a deep playoff run. That's what we would love to see from the team. We have a lot of injuries that have happened this year. We had Matt Milano, Daquan Jones out, and we don't really have the depth behind guys like Terrell Bernard or Tyrell Dodson. I mean, we do have AJ Klein. We have Dorian Williams that are out there, but we really need that next linebacker to come in if we want to take the defense to the next step. And if you remember back a couple of years ago when the Bills went after Tremaine Edmonds in the draft, everybody thought, including myself, that Shaq Leonard was going to be the prototypical linebacker for what the Bills wanted to run in terms of the scheme. We felt like that this was going to be the next Luke Kuechly out there. And Shaq has had some great years in with the Colts. And he's only 28 years old. Don't get me wrong. He's still young. So he seems like he's been in the league forever. He's a great player. 69 tackles already this season. He's done some really good things, but it's just seems like he's looking for a contender this year. That's one of the things that he's looking for. And he doesn't have to play a big role on the Bills. It's not going to be where he has to go out there every single play. He can become that rotational piece. He can be the player that comes in and helps in the run game, or he's also very good in pass rushing. That's one of the areas that he strives in. And right now it seems to me, Sean, and I don't know if you would agree with it, but I like the way that Terrell Bernard is playing. He's been playing pretty good. But if you have Terrell blitz, then it exposes the Bills in terms of being able to cover the tight end position. And that's one of the areas that we've struggled in, is being able to cover the tight end position. So now if you have Shaq Leonard out there and you have Terrell Bernard, you have two guys that can pass rush as well, which is always great. We need pass rushers. Pass rushers are hard to find in this league. But you also need somebody that's able to cover the tight end position or running backs, whatever the case may be. But I want to look into it a little bit more, and I want to look at the PFF numbers in terms of how the Bills are going to be able to fit a guy like Shaq Leonard into the scheme, and can he cover the linebacker position, and can he cover the tight ends? So that's one of the areas I want to figure out a little bit more before we think about whether we should go after a guy like him, because he's great in terms of rushing the ball. He's great in terms of the being able to stop the run. But can he do the things that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott will want him to do, which is going to be having to cover the running backs and tight ends? I don't know the answer to that question right now. So before we get into whether we should go after a guy like Shaq Leonard, we got to look into a little bit more of whether he can cover the running back position or tight end position. So let's get into the Philadelphia Eagles, and let's talk about one of their biggest weapons. And no, I'm not talking about Taylor Swift or any other Swift. I'm going to talk about nobody that's a Swiftie. Let's put it that way. I'm not talking about a Swiftie, but I'm going to talk about DeAndre Swift, one of the bigger and better running backs in this league right now. He's just ahead of James Cook in rushing yards this season, just a couple yards ahead of him, 3 yards. But one of the biggest weapons that the Eagles have on offense has been DeAndre Swift this season, who's having a sleeper year this year. And Sean, in my opinion, for us, one of the keys to the game has to be stopping DeAndre Swift and putting the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands in the run game. So let me ask you this, Sean. What is it going to take for the Buffalo Bills to be able to stop DeAndre Swift this week?
Well, when you think about Eagles running backs, you look at last year, Miles Sanders had, a very, very, very good year. And then now in Carolina, he's horrible, and people in Carolina don't even want him there. And then you got DeAndre Swift, who was an okay running back in Detroit, and now is a top 4 or top 3 in yards for the Eagles now. So again, it all starts with the guy front blocking. You got, Jason Kelce, one of the best centers in the NFL. They got Lane Johnson, and who's that right tackle? Is that Lane Johnson the right tackle? And then there's another guy. I forgot his name. I think it's a guard maybe. And then you got Mailata, who's good. Who's that?
I know who you're thinking of, and I can't think of his name, but I'll.
The right tackle is the right tackle Lane Johnson.
I think the right tackle, I believe, is Lane Johnson.
And they got another guy who's I think he's on the right side also. Who's pretty? No, he's a left tackle.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
I just want to get the names correctly because I know he's a great player. I just can't remember.
Let me get the depth chart real quick. I got to look this up because. So you have
Johnson.
In terms of the offense, you have Jordan I'm going to pronounce his name wrong.
Mailata, yeah.
Mailata. Landon Dickerson, Jason
Landon
Kelce.
Dickerson. Okay, that was the other guy I was thinking of. So Lane
Yep.
Johnson's the right tackle, and Landon Dickerson, all great linemen. Their right guard is the only thing different than last year. He's also on the. We talked about him, Suamalu or whatever. He went to the Steelers. We talked
Right.
about maybe we could pick him up in the offseason.
Right.
So they're a little bit different. They got a second round pick at right guard this year, but they got a great running blocking offensive line, and it starts with them. So our defensive line has to be physical, and being physical will make it harder for them to run the ball on us because then they can't impose their will on us. And it's all about imposing will on both sides of the football. So, I mean, DeAndre Swift, he can catch the ball, he can run the ball. I'm more worried about him catching the ball in the backfield than I'm going to be than him running on us because we can't defend screen passes. And, I'm just not wanting him to change the game by getting these dump off passes and taking big chunks. But just remain physical and wrap up when you tackle because he can break them just like Breece Hall could break them in week 1. He could break them. So wrap up and tackle and just be physical. And, got to be body for body. You got to try to win your matchups.
Yeah, for me on the Bills side of the ball, as far as we talked about with Swift, and the player that's going to have to stop Swift is going to have to come down to Linval Joseph, who he is going to have to be the focal point in the run game, being able to stop DeAndre Swift. And he's going to have to play a big role this week in terms of being out there a little bit more than what he's used to. And yes, he's only been on the Bills for a couple of weeks now, but this is the time of year where he's going to be utilized a lot because he is a big body guy that can take on 2 defenders, and it'll allow guys like Ed Oliver or even Terrell Bernard or Tyrell Dodson to be able to shoot the gap and get into the backfield to stop Swift. So I'm going to have to see a little bit more out of Linval Joseph out there on the field. And then in the run game, it's going to have to come down to whether Terrell Bernard or Tyrell Dodson can cover him, or even maybe a safety that's going to have to step up. Maybe that's Micah Hyde, who will be playing this week. It's looking like he will be playing because he was a full participant in practice. No longer has an injury designation or injury decision on him for the game. So it looks like he's going to be able to make it this week, which would be great. And then you're going to have to look at either Jordan Poyer, one of the 2 of them, to be able to stop Swift in the run game. So I want to see the Bills stop Swift and make sure that he's not going to be a focal point in this offense. And then it's going to have to come down to, can the Bills cover guys like A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith in the passing game? Because now we're not going to go up against Dallas Goedert too. So that's actually going to help the Bills in this game plan that they're going to have for the Philadelphia offense.
Yeah, I would like to also see if a defender sees the running back, DeAndre Swift or whoever, go out out of the backfield to just hit them. So they can't quickly go to a dump off. So if it's Rousseau or Floyd or Epinesa on the outside or anyone in the middle, if they see him try to go out for a pass, just hit him or get in his way so they can't go to the dump off if we got pressure. Because that'll be the first thing. Oh, if we got pressure on them, quick, dump it off 25 yards, 30 yards, or even more. So if you see him veer off, just knock him down. And then, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I completely
agree. Knock him over. Sorry, he's out of the play.
Exactly. I think the biggest thing that we're talking about here is the Bills are going to have to be very physical out there on the field this week. This is going to be a game where you're going to have to leave everything out there on the line because next week you have a bye week. So this is the last game before the bye. Then you have a week off, prepare for Kansas City, get back where you want to go. Let's get to 7-5. Let's get to 8-5 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Give them a tough loss, and you will beat both of the teams that were in the Super Bowl, which would be a great sign. Both of the teams that, have some of the hottest media attention out there right now as well. So I want to see the Bills play very, very physical, dictate both sides of the line of scrimmage in terms of the running game. be able to get the running game going on offense, and then in the passing game on defense, you're going to have to stop a lot of guys that are going to be big names like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. But let's get into the two-headed tandem that they have in the wide receiver room for the Philadelphia Eagles, and both of them would be number one wide receivers on almost any team in the NFL, probably besides the Miami Dolphins, because they have two of the better number one wide receivers in the game right now, and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But of the other 31 teams, I think that these two would be the number one wide receiver in any offense. So besides, a couple out there. But this is going to be a tough matchup for the Bills going up against A.J. Brown, who has lit it up against Buffalo when he was with the Titans. I look back to a couple of years ago where we went up against Brown, and he had a big game. The Bills weren't able to stop him, and that was one of the reasons why the Bills were very, very tough in that game. But let me bring up this comment real quick from Bills fan CA, who said, scan the QR code for Cardale at the bottom of the screen and help him and his family. They are fighting for his life against cancer. The donation link is also in the description of this show as well. And that is a very good point. I apologize, Bills fan CA. I haven't gotten the details on that yet. So next show, when we do have our show on Tuesday for the AFC East Summit, I would like to get some more details on that. I apologize. I've been all over the place in terms of wedding coverage and everything else that we've done. So we haven't been making a focal point of these shows this week. We're back on track this week, but I want to get back in touch with Mike and get the details on that so that I can provide it for all of the viewers out there as well. But please click the link below. There's a QR code there as well. You can scan your phone, and if you can donate whatever you can, we would greatly appreciate that for his case, and that would be wonderful. We also have Trek Reviewer, this one that is on the Cut Cam bandwagon, who says, and for Bills fan CA, Cut Cam, LOL. That's one of the players that we've been talking about a lot lately that could potentially be off the roster next season. So, but Sean, let me bring him up. The two-headed tandem that we do have for the Buffalo Bills, or the Bills are going to go up against, and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And you have Rasul Douglas, who had a very good game last week, 2 interceptions, and he covered number one wide receivers very well in that game, even though Garrett Wilson has been struggling a lot lately. But this week, going up against A.J. Brown, and how is this matchup going to be for Rasul Douglas? Do you think that he's going to have another interception in this game?
I don't know about that, but I know he'll do a good job against them. Those games where we had A.J. Brown beat us up pretty bad in Tennessee, one of them was Dane Jackson, the other one was Trey White. And as good as Trey is, he's not as good in coverage as Rasul Douglas is. And I mean that by when Trey gets beat, he gets beat. But when Rasul Douglas gets beat, he's immediately making the tackle. The receiver doesn't get 1 inch. If he makes the catch, he's already getting down to the ground. So he's a very, very good in coverage, very tight, and, makes plays on the ball, makes picks, deflections. It makes it hard for any wide receiver to get anything on him from what I've seen in the last few weeks. Obviously, he hasn't been unbeatable in his career, but from what I've noticed in his few games in Buffalo, it didn't matter who he's on. Like Garrett Wilson against Trey White in week 1, any slant route beat, any short route beat him on that touchdown pass. Like Rasul Douglas isn't letting that stuff up. So I'm not worried about him on A.J. Brown. I think, and A.J. Brown's fantastic. He'll probably make a couple catches, but you saw Trent McDuffie or whoever was on him. They held him to 1 catch last week versus Kansas City, and then Devonta Smith had all the catches and the yards and stuff like that. So I got a good feeling about Rasul Douglas on A.J. Brown. I like the matchup. He's more physical than Trey White. He's not afraid to hit like Trey White. And I think he's better at reacting than Trey White. Doesn't mean Trey White's not good, but he's not like he used to be. And then, I don't know if Smith will end up in the slot. I hope he does, because then you got Teron Johnson who's probably going to play. If not, then Christian Benford is going to have to step up, because Devonta Smith is finesse and quick, and it's going to be hard to cover him.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that Rasul Douglas has been playing phenomenal ball out there on the field, and he's been great in not only press man coverage, but also playing the zone coverage that the Bills love to play.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been that guy that's been very physical for the Buffalo Bills. That's one of the things that I love about him, is how physical he's been and his ability to use his instincts to track the ball and find the ball, and not only do that, but get past breakups as well. Even if he doesn't get an interception in that case, he's able to get past breakups, which is something that I've loved. He's not playing 10 yards off of the line of scrimmage like other cornerbacks that we've seen. He's a guy that, if you look at him, he's right up there on the ball. He's looking for the wide receiver, watching their hips, watching what they do, and being the guy that is the most aggressive out there on the field in terms of going after the wide receiver, which just like Trick Revere said here, he reminds him a lot of Nate Odoms, and I do agree. I see a young Nate Odoms. I also see a young Antoine Winfield in him as well. I don't know if you would agree with that, Sean, but I see a lot of Nate Clements and Antoine Winfield out there with him, and he's been doing a phenomenal job the last couple of weeks. I think that the move was an incredible move for the Bills to get. Giving up a third-round pick, yes, that sucks, but we do have the compensation that we're going to get from Tremaine Edmonds, so it's not really losing a third-round pick in terms of
it was kind of free.
It's kind of a freebie, so I'm okay with the move. Yes, it's a late third-round pick that we're going to get, but you know what Brandon Beane likes to do. He likes to move up in the draft. He likes to make trades. That's a great thing to do. And then you have a number one cornerback that you're going to have on your team next year that he's going to step up. And what has Sean McDermott done with cornerbacks and safeties and defensive backs in the NFL in his career with the Buffalo Bills and in his career in Philadelphia, as well as with the Carolina Panthers? He made Josh Norman into a name. He's made Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer into big names, Tre'Davious White as well. Trying to think back to Philadelphia. I can't think of who was in Philadelphia at the time when he was there, but I'm going to draw a blank on that. But there's another guy that he had in Philadelphia, and Channel, help me out if you can remember. There's another cornerback that he made into a big name there. But I don't know why I'm thinking of Nnamdi Asomugha, but that's not going to be the name that is coming to my mind. Don't get me wrong, but he's made some pretty big players in terms of the defensive back position, and then he also made guys like Shaq Thompson and Luke Kuechly into the names that they are. So a lot of credit goes to Brandon Beane for finding these guys, but also Sean McDermott for getting guys like Christian Benford, who has stepped up quite a bit, and from a 6th-round pick all the way into your number 2 cornerback, beating out Kaiir Elam, who was a 1st-round pick. That's incredible. But these guys are going to be very important for the Buffalo Bills this week and for the rest of the season, and I can't wait for them to play. But let me read what Trick Revere said. He says, for some reason, I don't think Dane Jackson will be there. He won't be out there on the field this week. John Robert, he is going to be out this week, and Taylor Rapp will be out as well. So those are the 2 big names that will be out for the Buffalo Bills. And then probably some guys that are going to be healthy scratches, like we'll see DeMar Hamlin as a healthy scratch, maybe Alec Anderson.
He'll probably play, though. I mean, he'll probably suit up, DeMar.
I don't think he will, actually.
Rapp is inactive.
That's right. So he'll probably play.
Or they're going to bring up Isabella instead and bring in another safety.
Yeah, they already announced that they're bringing up Isabella and Jamarcus Ingram. Those are the 2.
Yeah, so maybe DeMar will suit up, maybe not.
We'll see. That's going to be an interesting one. Maybe Jamarcus Ingram inactive this week, which would be – I'd be a little surprised if that's the case because we are so thin at the cornerback position. So,
or maybe they're bringing Isabella up because they're going to put Ty Johnson on the practice squad this time and bring up Fournette. And Fournette doesn't play special teams, and Ty Johnson's a returner with Khalil Shakir. So I doubt that's going to happen because at the Tampa game, Isabella was active and Ty Johnson was active as well. So they both were returning then. So maybe they're just going to bring him up and then not bring up another safety. So because you still got Cam. So,
Right.
But then you got Cam, Poyer, Hyde. You need someone else. So maybe they will bring him up. Who knows?
Yeah, it's very true. It'll be determined whether they decide to make DeMar active. I do think that they will, but going back to last week, I believe that Jermaine Ifedi was active for the Buffalo Bills.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I thought that he was. I thought it was Alec Anderson was active or inactive, and Jermaine Ifedi was active.
No, I think they're both inactive still.
Okay, I think there's been one game that Jermaine Ifedi's been he's been.
I don't know. I don't know for sure. I'm going to say I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
I think he was active in one game, but I'm a little surprised that the Bills haven't utilized him enough and as like a sixth lineman.
They got Edwards for that.
Yeah, they do have Edwards, but
because Edwards, Edwards was a starter, so it's like it's pretty good. I mean, Ifedi was too, but Edwards has been there since day one, so they're like, yeah, we like using him in the heavy package, and I'd like to see Ifedi active still too, just in case, because God forbid someone gets hurt. You got Vandermark, and that's it.
Yeah,
Vandermark's the only tackle left because you see it in the games. They have to leave Torrance and Brown in every week if they take out starters because they don't got anybody else to play.
Right.
So they take out Dawkins, McGovern, and Morse, and they have to leave those two in because they don't have anyone else to play.
Yeah, it's been crazy though, but
that's why having Bates takes up two spots on the roster because they use him as a backup for Torrance and they use him as a backup for Morris. But then if you have to do it like, if you took Morris out, at the end of the game or then Torrance got hurt, hopefully it never happens, knock on wood, they've all been healthy, but you'd have to put Morris back in the game and put Bates at guard. And
yeah,
I would like to have a true backup to each person, but I get it. You try to save roster spots.
Yeah, I agree there. But let's go to our next category that we have here, and let's talk about one of the biggest plays that the Philadelphia Eagles have, and it's been nicknamed by a couple of things. Tony Romo nicknamed it the tush push, and then you've heard the brotherly shove. This one of the biggest plays that you've heard from Philadelphia Eagles, and Sean, I want to bring this play up because it's going to be an important play. And Nick Sirianni is one of the more aggressive defensive play or offensive play callers in the NFL. And the Bills defense is going to have to be aware of this play. Obviously, it's one of the ones that has worked on 99% of the time that they've ran it. So, Sean, let me ask you this. How are the Bills going to be able to stop the tush push? And if you were playing against guys like Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson and the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles, what would be your strategy for stopping the play?
Well, when I was with Jake, I wrote it up how I would stop the play. So it's kind of hard I'll have to explain it, but basically what I said was you line up exactly how the offense is lining up. So they got the 5 linemen. Then they got the quarterback, that's 6. They got the 2 people pushing in the back, that's 8. And they got the other people on the sides pushing. So what I was saying was you bring your biggest dudes in. So you put like Linval Joseph, Settle, and Jordan Phillips. Then you bring like Rousseau and another defensive end that are, bigger. You push them all in close together, pinch them in, and then you get your big linebackers and you put them like kind of sandwiched in between the two of the D tackles. And then you got the smallest guys, like the weak ones, the corners, pushing just like how they're pushing the quarterback. And you basically, it's body for body at that point. And you actually have the advantage because Hurts isn't blocking. Hurts is running with the football. So you got 11 people going again. And then, it's more of like if the offensive line moves faster than you, you're going to lose because they have the momentum moving forward. But I was thinking about it today in the car. If they're guaranteed probably a first down anyway, and they usually get more than 1 yard when they do it, why not maybe a couple times take the chance of trying to jump quick? Like try to watch every time they run the play, see if you can find a pattern of what's their cadence or when do they hike the ball, and then try to have all your guys in the defensive line beat the offensive lineman to the punch, and then you stand them up or you get lower quick, because that's the other thing. The Eagles' offensive line, they get very low and they just trounce on top of you, and then the defensive linemen are all out of the picture, and then you're screwed. But if you can maybe time it, because you might, it's 5 yards if you jump offside, but you're gonna give up a first down anyway. So like, are you willing to try that maybe? Because it might work. Because if you're timing it right, and then you got the two guys in the middle or the three guys all leaning forward at the same time while they're hiking the ball, then the offensive linemen aren't going to be able to get as low as possible quick because you're going to be jumping first, and then you're going to back them up, and then you might be able to do something. It's stupid to jump over the line because it's never going to work. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen or heard in my life. There's no logic in that. Jumping over a pile when you have no strength because you're jumping in midair and you got people pushing and running forward while you're in midair trying to tackle with your arms. Because even if you jump forward, you're not going to push Jalen Hurts back because you got four guys pushing him.
Right.
So jumping over is stupid. I would just literally line up how they do. I'd have nobody jump over. I'd have all my big dudes in. I'd pinch everybody in. And again, if they see that you can probably stop it, they'll do their fake plays out of it like they did against Washington, because Washington stopped it. They made Hurts fumble and they got the ball back at the 1 yard line. And then the next time they did it, they ran a fake pitch. They ran like they're going to do it, and then they pitched it off and they got a big gain. So it's definitely stoppable. Nothing. There's always a way to stop everything in football and in anything really in life. But I don't know. That's my idea, is line up the same exact way. Maybe try to time the cadence and jump quick. If you get the false start, if you get the offside call, it's 2 or 3 extra yards and you would have gotten anyway, but they were going to get the first down regardless. So I would give that a try, because it's really tough because the defenses line up at a disadvantage all the time. Like I said, the Chiefs try to do it where they had two of their tackles like side shaded to the offensive linemen, and they try to pinch in like that, but you're just going to get destroyed. And then you only got 5 or 6 guys, and they got 8 guys blocking, and then you got the people in the back trying to like jump over the top. It's never going to work. So that's just my idea. We'll see though.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the biggest things that we're going to have to focus on for the Bills is going to have to come down to being able to get low and get the leverage. That's one of the areas that Jason Kelce does a really good job of getting low and being able to push. The Bills are going to have to get very low in terms of being able to stop the run game. And but Buffalo last week, let's just put it that way, they did a wonderful job on fourth down, did not allow a single on third down, they did a wonderful job. No third down conversions. They did have a couple of fourth down conversions. That's one of the areas that they need to improve on a little bit more. But third down, they were spectacular out there. 0 times did they get a first down on third down. But fourth down, a couple of times the Jets were able to get the better of us. But we're going to have to find a way to gain penetration and be able to get into the backfield. And that's one of the keys to the game for me, is being able to get to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Bills fan CA said, I'd stop it by not allowing them to get into third and shorts. That's one area that I definitely agree.
Well, think about it like this. They're starting my friend told me this the other day. The Eagles basically start every drive at 1st and 8. because if they're 3rd and 2, they're going to go for the tush push. If they're 4th and 1, they're going to go for no matter where they are in the field. They could be at their own 5. If it's 4th and 1, they're going to do the tush push and get it. So it's really about it's kind of like, who's going to grab their nuts and make something happen, because it's even the offensive linemen don't like doing this play because they're getting lower than everybody, right? And then you got 6 400-pound dudes on top of you while you're laying on the ground face first, and you got people on top of you all the whole time, and you're just sitting there like on the ground just getting trampled on. Like, it's not fun. It's not a fun play for them. And defensive linemen, I'm sure they get an ass whooping too. So it's really just it's probably more technical than physical, because like I said, there's a way to stop everything. Even the QB sneak. In Madden it says it's like 99%, effective. Look at Josh Allen against the Vikings. A play that's 99% effective. We fumbled it in the end zone and they tied the game with like 2 seconds left. So anything is beatable, but they practice it just like, it's like baseball, and a coach really focuses on bunts and suicide squeeze and things like that. A lot of people don't focus on that, but small ball sometimes is what wins baseball games. Yep. So the Eagles took the same approach with this. Oh, it's a game of inches. Okay. Well, we're never going to be in a 3rd or 4th and 1 or 2 situation where we're not going to pick up more times than not going to pick it up.
Right.
So they practice this and practice this and practice this and practice this. Like I hate Nick Sirianni because he sounds like a prick, but he said that we practiced it more than any other team, and we perfected a way that works for us. And they're right, but there's always something that can stop something. So
yeah,
I think I wouldn't expect to see us stopping it a lot, but if you let them get to 2nd or 3rd and 2, 4th and 1, they're going to go for it every time, and they're going to know it's coming. So you got to be ready for it. People have to get down and dirty. Maybe depending, take off like some of the smaller guys and put an extra lineman in, so it's 5-on-5, and you got Dotson, who's a big linebacker, and then Bernard isn't big, but he's quick and strong. So, try to do it like that. But
yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. I think that's going to be one of the areas that the Bills are going to have to focus on a lot. And like we said, just don't get in the situation where you're in 3rd and shorts. That's one area that I completely agree with.
But the cool thing is, in the event they go for it in a bad field position, like we kick the ball off to them, right? They get the 25, then we get a sack, and then they get to 4th and 1, and we end up stopping it. Then you get the ball at the 20 or the 25, and you can get a touchdown, and you can take advantage of it. It's not going to happen like the Commanders. I think it was the first time they played. The Eagles went for it on 4th and 1 at the 1, and Hurts fumbled it. The Commanders got it. Commanders ended up losing that game, but they won in overtime the first game, and they lost by like 2 in the second game. So it's it's a play that if something happens, it's possible to happen, and you can take advantage of it. So I'm gonna be interested to see how often they do it, because Nick Sirianni he's an aggressive coach. Yep. He's not afraid to. He believes in his guys. He believes in what the work they put in, and he rewards his team by letting them go for it on 4th and 1s and 3rd and 2s and whatever by doing that play. So they're going to do it. Hopefully McDermott has thought of something that we could do. I mean, I was telling Jake when I was at his house, Andy Reid took a play from a janitor in their facility, and he used it and it scored a touchdown. I want to message all these coaches and be like, hey, I know it might sound dumb, but I thought about this play. This is how, like I said, I couldn't show you the picture how I drew it up, but send them how I drew it up and be like, hey, try this maybe, see what happens, and then see if a coach would do it. But
Listen, the Bills are able to get fan mail, man. So understand you can send it into Buffalo.
Well, it's probably too late now to get it worked in because they didn't practice it at all. But that's the other thing too. Trying to practice against it, No one wants to do that shit in practice. I'm telling you, like, they don't want to hit at all in practice because once the season starts, and that's how it was when I played too. It's like once the season starts, you don't hit anymore,
Right.
because you don't want to get dinged up, and you don't want to. You're already getting your ass kicked every week. So once doubles is over and camp is over, you don't hit no more. So trying to practice against that, it's tough unless you're actually doing it. So it's more of just like, okay, we're going to do it like this, like when they're in their walkthroughs and stuff. I doubt they're going to, go 100% and try to rework the play exactly,
Right.
But,
Well, one thing we have to factor in is the Bills have a little more than a day. I would say like a day and a half more rest than the Philadelphia Eagles do, because the Philadelphia Eagles played on Monday night. The Bills played on Sunday, even though they did play in the later game on Sunday. In terms of the 4:00 games, this is another 4:00 game for them, so they do have a little bit more time preparing for the Philadelphia Eagles. But they're going to have to come out of the gates and show that they are the more prepared team. That's one thing that I'm looking for. Discipline's another area that the Bills are going to have to be better in. You can't shoot yourself in the foot in terms of penalties as well as turnovers. That's another thing we haven't talked about yet, is the turnover battle. We're going to have to win the turnover rate. And you can't shoot yourself in the foot and then try and win a game. That's one area that we can't do. So if everything does work out for the Buffalo Bills and they can get a win, it's going to have to come down to being able to play fundamentally sound football, be able to win the turnover battle, and play some excellent defense. And the offense is going to have to move the ball, and they're going to have to dictate the time of possession battle as well. So those are the areas that I think would be the keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills. Time of possession battle, dictating the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, being fundamentally sound, and just being a different team and keeping the drives moving, and being able to win that time of possession. Because the least amount of time that the defense can be out there on the field and the more time the offense can be out there and being able to get first downs and move the ball down the field, that's what I'm going to want to see this week for the Bills.
Yeah, and Hurts has turned the ball over a lot this year, so there's opportunities where we can capitalize.
I completely agree. And the one game that we did differ, actually, we voted the same. I did have my upset of the week in the weekly picks. I picked the Bills to win, and as my upset of the week, because I do think that the Philadelphia Eagles are a little bit of a team that's kind of overhyped in terms of what they've done. They haven't been that great. They've kept every opponent in games. They've had a lot of one-possession games that they've won. But I think this is a game where it's a trap game for the Eagles. They just went up against the Kansas City Chiefs. And now you're going up against the Buffalo Bills, who you're going to probably take a little bit lightly. Remember this, Nick Sirianni is from upstate New York. So a lot of his friends are going to be voting and rooting against him. So maybe there's some friends that sent in some mail and some dirt on the Eagles, which would be great. I'd appreciate that. But I think it's going to have to come down to just the Bills playing some good football. So, Sean, let's get into your keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills and how they can come up with a win. So give me your 3 keys to the game for the Buffalo Bills.
You got to assert dominance, impose your will, same thing. Don't turn the football over, and quick passes and getting your playmakers the ball and let them do something with it. It's not all about throwing it deep every time, and really just understanding what's on the line. So whereas the season isn't over if we lose tomorrow, they got to play like it is. They got to understand. Like I always say, it's like the corny high school shit where they're like, "All right, seniors, this is some of your last times on a football field. This game coming up, so leave it all out there." And they got to play like it is, because they might be, imagine if you lose to Philly and you go on the bye and then you lose to the Chiefs, your season's over already, 6-7, you're done. Then you got 6 AFC losses and you're probably done. So they have no room, like John said, no turnovers, no penalties, especially against a team like this who has found ways, as much as they maybe shouldn't be 9-1, they are, and they've won these one-score games besides the Jet one. They're 6-1 in those 7, and I think it was 7, Mike said the other day, and I know they lost to the Jets like 14-12. So they're 6-1 in those one-score games. They found ways to win, and we haven't. So getting penalties and turning the ball over will not help. So, yeah, quick passes, impose your will, and be smart with the football and, get your playmakers the ball. And when you tackle, wrap up. Simple as that for me.
Completely agree with you there. Before I get into our last segment, I do want to take a couple minutes to open up the floor to, we have 6 people that are watching right now. So don't forget to put in the comments below if you have any questions that you want us to answer. We greatly appreciate any of the comments that you have. Also, don't forget to hit the like button on YouTube or on Facebook. Share it with all your friends, family. We greatly appreciate that as well. But we also do appreciate all the subs that we get. So if you're not subscribed to the Nickel City Mafia, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell so you can get all of the notifications and find out when guys like Sean and I or Jake and Mike are going live. We also have guys like Timmy on here as well. We have a ton of people that are on the channel now. We also have the Sabres Edge show as well as fantasy football show that's on. And Nickel City Mafia pretty much is going to be probably in the near future running shows 24/7. It seems like we got guys on the East Coast, guys on the West Coast. I mean, we might have a monkey come on the show eventually and have a show, which would be, I'm all for it, man. If we do, that would be a hell of a show. I think the viewers would love it, but that's definitely going to be the next step for the Nickel City Mafia platform. But show some love to all the guys that we have on here and hit that notification bell. We greatly appreciate it. But Sean, before I get into the last segment for you, just real quick, closing thoughts that you have for the Bills this week.
Well, man, this is what it's all about. It's an exciting game against a great opponent in their house. And Josh always mentioned, yeah, sure, it's great to play at home, but it's even better when you play away and you can silence a crowd. And, them Philly fans are hard to keep their mouth shut. So to silence that crowd will be an incredible achievement on its own. So if you can go in there and beat a great team like Philly with all their great talent and their coaching, and you go into a bye at 7-5 when your season looked over at 5-5, and you have 2 weeks to prepare for a Kansas City Chiefs team that you've beaten 2 years in a row in their own house, who struggle on offense, who haven't scored 1 point in the second half the last 4 games, you feeling pretty good. You really feel like this is a team that we've been waiting for the whole season, and now they're showing us just a little bit too late. And the bye came at the right time. We can rest up before the end of the season, go on a nice little run, maybe finish 12-5. That'd be incredible. And then there's no worries about playoffs, because at 12-5, if you miss the playoffs at 12-5, then there's no I have nothing to say about that, because 12-5 is an outstanding record. So if by some miracle 3 teams above us were 12-5 and they had 4 AFC losses and we missed the playoffs at 12-5, I can't really say much at that point.
Yeah.
But if you're 11-6 or 10-7 and you miss it, then you can start talking. But what more could they ask for as a team? People have been counting you out. You got a chance to prove it on not the biggest stage, because it's a 4:00 game, but most people will be watching you, and you're playing a great team who is 9-1. And if you win this game, it changes how everybody thinks of you. I don't know. They don't really care what the people think, but this would be huge just for the confidence as well, knowing that, yeah, we may have lost to the shitty Patriots, or we may have lost to the Broncos at home when we shouldn't have, but now we just beat a great Jets defense, and we beat the best team in the NFL record-wise.
Yeah.
And then you got a nice bye. You got 2 weeks to prepare and rest, and then everybody's looking good. Well, they're not going to actually work for the 2 weeks. They're going to go on vacation for a week, and, which I get, but you're on vacation for 6 months of the year in the off season. So I would take this bye week and at least be in the film, resting up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be, going on vacation and shit. But they'll do that. You know that.
Hey, it is what it is.
But just play hard, man. Just play like it's the last game. Play like it's the Super Bowl. You have to. That's all I got.
I'm going to give you the ultimate hype video. Okay. Not even a video, but I'm going to give you a hype segment. Okay. I'm going to get you ready for this freaking game in the next couple minutes. Okay.
Sure.
So let me turn on my hype page. Okay. And I'm going to put the hype cap on. Okay. Bills Mafia, listen to me right now when I say this. Okay. The Bills are going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday night. Sunday evening, let's put it that way. They're going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. You have Josh Allen, who's the better quarterback out there on the field right now. He's going to dominate out there. He knows that his back's against the wall right now. He knows that he's been playing like shit. But he's going to come out there and he's going to be the focal point for the offense. He's going to make play after play. And he's going to show that he is still the MVP candidate that is going to be the MVP at the end of the year. You have Stephon Diggs, one of the best receivers in the NFL, who's going to make play after play on the field. You have a defense that has been struggling lately, but they've been better. Let's put it that way. They've been a lot better. And they are going to show the world that they can stop the Philadelphia Eagles offense. They can stop the tush push. They can beat anybody out there on the field if they get their mind right. That's the biggest thing that they need to do. And they're going to do it this week. They're going to get their mind right. They're going to be focused. They're going to play fundamentally sound football on both sides of the ball. They're going to dominate each and every aspect of the field. That's special teams. That's offense. That's defense. You're going to see a better team out there on the field because we have Josh Allen and we have more playmakers on defense that are going to step up. Guys like Linval Joseph, who's going to step up. Rasul Douglas. You're going to see Terrell Bernard out there on the field that's going to be the one that's going to make a big difference. You're also going to see guys that are not the big names that are going to make big plays. And Christian Benford, who's going to be going up against Devontae Smith. He's going to have a big day. You're going to see in the back end, you're going to see a interception from a guy who hasn't had an interception all year in Jordan Poyer. They're going to lay it all out on the field tomorrow, just like Bills fan CA is saying. They're going to lay it all out on the field. I want every ounce of freaking blood out there on the field. I want to see the Mafia sauce that we have. I want to see that Mafia sauce out there on the field. You better be drinking that sauce for all of Bills Mafia. Going into Lincoln Financial Field, that's one of the toughest fields to play on. The toughest stadiums to ever play in. With some of the worst fans in the game. The most ruthless fans in the game. But let's show them that we are Bills Mafia. We are the team that goes anywhere and can beat anybody. Let's fucking do it. Let's go out there and make a fucking impact. I'm going to say it right now. And I know that Mike hates when I cuss on the show, but I'm going to say it. Let's effing go. Let's go out there. Let's be the better team. Let's make an impact out there on the field. And let's just freaking dominate. That's the one thing that we need to do. And I hope that the 6 people that are watching on this channel are Bills players, because I want you guys to dominate every aspect of the game, because this Philadelphia Eagles team is so overhyped. We are slept on right now. We are the team that needs to get their head out of their tails. And we need to go out there and we need to show the world that we are the team to beat. We are still the team to beat in the AFC East. That title is going to be lost. But I know damn well that Josh Allen wants that title so badly, and he's chomping at the bits to get back out there on the field for one more week. Then you have your bye week, and then you can rest up, and we can take it 1 week at a time. We have the more time to get back out there and learn, and we've had more time to not only be in the film room. We should be more focused. We should be ready for this game. And I know damn well Sean McDermott's going to get this team ready. So let's go out there and get a win. What do you say, Sean?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, guys. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on social media. You can find Sean on Red, White, and Bills on Instagram and on YouTube. You can find me on all of our channels. We have 6 different accounts that we have on different platforms on social media, but we're on mostly YouTube and Instagram as well as Facebook. Those are our main 3, as well as Twitter and Threads. All the other ones that you can possibly imagine. Also, don't forget to go on Nickel City Mafia. Check them out on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, don't forget the description below on the show. We'll also have the donation that we have for our Cardell, I'm sorry, that we have. But we also will let me read this real quick. Bills Fan CA is saying cuts count plus 50, Santa not happy. I do understand that, but understand this though, Mike. You know darn well that Santa will be happy if we bring home a Bills win, and that's what I want to see this week. Let's get to 7-5 before the bye. I know that Mike wanted to be 8-4. That's the goal that he wanted before the bye. Let's get to 7-5. Then we have a couple of games against teams that are beatable in the field or in the Kansas City Chiefs. Then we have Dallas, who I think that we can match up very well against. But we just got to get healthy when that time comes. But for Sean and myself, I'm Brett. We'll see you next week on Saturday at 8:30 p.m. on Nickel City Mafia for another edition of the Red, White, and Ruthless. You'll see myself on our next show tomorrow for our pregame show on the Go Bills podcast. Sean, I don't know if you're doing a pregame show.
No, I'll be working.
You'll be working, man, but I wish you could do a pregame show, though. But
it's all right. We did it tonight.
We'll see you for the next show that we'll be on, which will be the weekly picks. We also have the AFC Summit show Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on Nickel City Mafia. But we will see you next time for another edition of the Red, White, and Ruthless. Until then, go Bills.
Go Bills.